Aside from maybe being on stage, there's no place a guitarist would rather be than inside a music store. It doesn't matter if that store is a soulless mega corporation like Guitar Center, or one of the few local mom-and-pop shops Big GC hasn't put out of business yet. Either way, guitarists love hitting up the music store. If you've ever worked in a store that sells musical instruments, or you've just spent lots of time loitering around them like I have, you may have noticed that guitarists who come in tend to fall into one of a few categories. In this video, we're going to talk about the different types of guitarists you're likely to encounter at any music store. Number 1, the trier. To most people, music store means a place you can go to buy musical instruments and accessories. But triers see things differently. To them, music store means a place you can go to play a bunch of different guitars for hours on end, absolutely free. Most music stores will let you take a guitar off the wall and play it. The idea is, try before you buy. But triers aren't buyers. They enter the music shop with no intention of buying a guitar. At most, they'll purchase a single high E string on their way out after spending all afternoon playing half the guitars in the store, 2 of which will be left with broken high E strings, like their shitty guitar at home. Now, I'd be a liar if I told you that I'm not a trier. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Guitar Center with like $2 in my wallet, only to walk out 4 hours later empty-handed with nothing more than a big stupid grin on my face. One time I even packed a lunch and spent 6 hours inside Mars Music, going back and forth between the acoustic room, the bass room, and the area with all the electrics. What can I say? I'm a trier through and through. If I'm in a music store, 99% of the time, I'm just there to fuck around, which is why music shop employees hate triers more than any other type of guitarist. For commission-based salespeople and music store owners alike, triers are the enemy. They come in, try out all the guitars as well as your patients, and then you have to try not to punch them in the face as they walk out the store empty-handed. And I happen to be the worst type of guitar trier to deal with, the triad trier. We don't want to just try out the electrics, we want to try the basses and acoustics too. The only thing us triple triers don't want to try is to actually save up enough money to buy a new guitar. Fortunately for music shop owners, triers aren't the only type of guitarist to wander into their store. If they were, they'd go out of business. They'll still likely go out of business when a Guitar Center comes to town, but until then, this next type of guitarist is single-handedly keeping mom-and-pop shops afloat all over the country. Number 2, the buyer. In many ways, the buyer is the antithesis of the trier. He doesn't come into the music store to play a bunch of different instruments. He's there to purchase one particular guitar that, in all likelihood, will never get played again once it leaves the store. Maybe it's a gift for a spoiled stepkid who thinks owning a guitar will make him cooler. Or maybe buying a guitar is the guy's misguided midlife attempt at increasing his own coolness so that he may someday attract wife number 2. Regardless of who the guitar's for, the buyer comes into the music shop for one reason and one reason only: to buy. A trained salesperson can spot a buyer from a mile away. The second this dude steps foot in Guitar Center, a pack of drooling, wide-eyed employees rush over to him. Since buyers are often suit-wearing squares, being surrounded by a bunch of long-haired music store employees makes him incredibly uncomfortable. He just wants to buy the guitar he came for and get the fuck out of there as quickly as possible. But the senior Guitar Center employee who pulls rank to get the customer all to himself has other plans. He knows a buyer when he sees one, just like the buyer knows a pothead when he smells one. As the employee tries to upsell the customer into purchasing half the store, the buyer can tell that the guy's higher than hell. Between the faint smell of weed, the bloodshot eyes, and the Funyun residue on the employee's shirt, it's obvious. And that just makes the buyer want to get out of there even faster. To him, shooting the shit with some music store employee is a total waste of time, especially one who likes to be totally wasted all the time. So he rejects every one of the 100 extra items the cashier tries to sell him, pays for the guitar, and leaves the store in a hurry. But this next type of guitarist is never in a hurry because he's not allowed to leave the store. Number 3, the denier, aka the gatekeeper. Though you might run into this type of guitarist at a music shop, unlike you, they're not a shopper. They're an employee. The denier is any music store employee who gets off by gatekeeping who's allowed to try out the expensive guitars and who isn't. When you show up at the music store in the middle of the day looking like you just got out of bed, 'cause you did, this type of guitarist can smell the unemployment on you both literally and figuratively. When you ask to play one of the electric guitars, the denier takes immense pleasure in saying no. He might not be able to just say no to drugs, and a quick glance at the guy's belly tells you he's never been able to just say no to a jelly donut. But he can and will say no to you when you go anywhere near one of the store's Les Pauls or American Strats. It'd be one thing if deniers denied access to everyone equally, but they don't. The attractive woman with big tits who entered the music store right before you got to try out every guitar on the top row while you were denied access to all but a single bottom row squire. It didn't matter that the woman was obviously just as broke as you, as evidenced by the fact that she pulled up in a 30-year-old Honda Civic and her mani-pedi was in desperate need of a redo. She has tits, so she got to play all the expensive guitars. You don't, so you got denied. Since you kinda have to be a fucking loser to want to gatekeep anyone from doing anything, deniers are often repeatedly denied by women. Because of this undeniable fact, they have trouble saying no to pretty girls. But if you're not a pretty girl, or a guy who looks like he's overflowing with disposable income, the denier will assume that you're just a trier and not a buyer. Despite your desire to plug a non-squire into an amplifier, that would require the approval of the denier. But he refuses to be your supplier and throws you out of the store like an umpire, which is why deniers often find their cars lit on fire with slashed tires. I hate to tell you, but you're living in denial. Denial of the fact that my brand new album, Denialism, just dropped on all streaming services and is even available as an actual physical CD. It's 12 tracks of raw, unapologetic chaos inspired by punk rock, metal, and all the other genres I'm always talking shit about. So if you enjoy loud music with fun, lighthearted themes like nihilism, class struggle, loneliness, and existential dread, Denialism is out now. So go stream, download, or buy. I don't care why. Maybe you like me and you want to show your support. Maybe you think I suck and want to hear the album I spent an entire year producing by myself so you can go and relentlessly make fun of it. Either way, I don't care. Just go stream, download, or buy my new 100% DIY album, Denialism. Link in the description. Number 4, the Shredifier, aka the Show-Off. These guitarists don't go to the music store to buy or try guitars. The reason why is to mystify all passers-by by trying to fly through songs that terrify most guitarists like Racer X's Scarified. When you run into one of these show-offs, since their arrogance is such a turn-off, your first instinct might be to blow off whatever they're playing and ignore whatever they're saying. But no matter how hard you try, as soon as he busts out Spanish Fly, you can't even take a single eye off the guy. That's because the Shredifier is able to inspire guitarists to aspire to take their playing higher. Even if the Shredifier is a snaky, two-faced piece of shit liar, you might not like him, but his playing you do admire. This one's a bit of a conundrum. On the one hand, nobody likes a show-off. On the other hand, everybody loves having their mind blown by being shown something they can't do on their own. Which is why most show-offs are alone without a band, because playing with them is something other musicians can't stand. But since show-offs gotta show off, they have frequently planned trips to Guitar Center where, with their favorite brand of guitar in hand, they can show off to every woman, child, and man for as long as their fingers can stand. Show-offs might be insufferably arrogant, but at least they know why they came to the music store. To show off. They walk into the door with purpose, head straight for the $10,000 Les Paul on the top row that has a big "Do Not Take Down Without Permission" sign on it, then proceed to take it down without permission, plug it into a nearby amp, and start shredding. But this next type of guitarist doesn't come to the music store to try, buy, deny, or shredify. They don't seem to know why, and neither do I. Number 5, the I Don't Know Wire, aka the Noob. We've all been there, and I'm not talking about Guitar Center. Although all us guitarists have been there because they're in practically every town. I'm talking about being a naive newbie who doesn't know the first thing about guitars or music store policy. On the one hand, it's hard to hate on the guitar noob because even the John Petrucci's and Paul Gilberts of the world were once clueless beginners. And you like seeing new people getting into the guitar, the instrument you yourself are obsessed with. But, on the other hand, there's nothing more annoying than when you're in the music store trying out guitars you have no intention of buying, and some kid keeps tripping over your patch cord because he's aimlessly wandering up and down the aisle looking at all the guitars. You can tell he's trying to build up the courage to actually touch one, but since his first time in the store because he's only been playing for like 2 weeks, the wide-eyed noob has no idea which guitars and amps he's allowed to use or if he has to ask permission first. So he continues to wander up and down the aisle, fucking up your playing. Or at least that's what you tell yourself. In reality, your playing of I Don't Know by Ozzy was way off long before the I Don't Know Wire came into the store. But you blame him for every note that you botch, and it makes you feel a little better about your sloppy playing. To music store employees, the I Don't Know Wire is almost as annoying as the trier. But unlike us triers, who will confidently march into the music shop and head straight to the guitar wall with purpose, the I Don't Know Wire meanders around the store aimlessly trying to figure out why the guitars over there only have 4 strings, and the ones in the back, some with as many as an almost unfathomable 12 strings on them, have a big hole in the middle. Music store employees hate dealing with clueless noobs because they touch things they shouldn't touch, go places they shouldn't go, and don't know things that you feel they should know. Even though the store's policies aren't posted anywhere and you haven't offered to help them, you blame the I don't know whyer not only for not knowing why, but also not knowing how, what, or where. Sure, noobs can be annoying, but don't forget, you and I were newbies once, so all guitarists can, at least on some level, relate. But this last type of guitarist you'll meet in the music store is one that customers and employees both hate. Number 6, the blabifier, aka the talker. This dude didn't come to the music store to play stuff. He's there to say stuff. He didn't come to rock, he came to talk. The blabifier comes in 2 varieties, and they're both equally insufferable. The first is the guy with a million questions. He didn't come to the music shop looking for a guitar to try or buy. He came to ask who, what, when, where, and why. It doesn't matter if you work there or are just a customer hiding out in the acoustic room. The relentlessly curious blabifier is going to find you and ask you questions. Lots of questions. Instead of actually picking up the guitar he's got his eye on and trying it out for himself, he asks you what your opinion is because he saw you playing it earlier. Regrettably, you answer the question, which opens the floodgates to a billion more. What kind of wood is that? Where is that guitar made? Is that awful buzzing sound because of your terrible technique, or is that the guitar? Even though you don't know the answer to any of his questions, you want him to think that you know what you're talking about, so you answer them anyway. It's a maple mahogany combo made right here in the good old US of A. Oh, and that buzzing sound? That must be the guitar. It's not the guitar, it's you. And it was made in China out of spruce. But none of that matters because the million-question blabifier has already moved on to asking someone else about a different guitar. But when another guitarist comes over to you, the other kind of blabifier, you wish you were still talking to the million-questions guy. Because the other kind of blabifier is the know-it-all. You didn't ask her a fucking thing, but she's going to tell you everything you didn't want to know about the guitar you're trying out. That's Sitka spruce you're playing, you know. Not bad for a guitar made in China. You should probably push down a little harder with your pinky, though, so it stops making that irritating buzzing sound. The know-it-all doesn't know it all, but they know a lot more than you, and they're going to let you know it. And music store employees aren't exempt from having to deal with this type of blabifier either. You could even be the store's owner, and she'll come right up to you and start telling you all about your store. You know, this used to be a bakery before you turned it into a music shop. And before that, it was you don't really give a shit about anything she's telling you, but you pretend to care because you still naively believe she might eventually buy something. But she doesn't. The blabifier, whether a questioner or a know-it-all, comes in the store, talks everyone's ear off, and leaves without buying, trying, or even learning a single thing, which just leaves you and every single person in the store with a massive headache. And there you have it, the types of guitarists you meet in a music store. Which type are you? Are you a trier like I am 99% of the time? Or are you one of those gatekeeping guitar shop employees us triers hate dealing with 100% of the time? Tell me in the comments. Whether you're a trier, buyer, denier, shreddifier, I don't know whyer, or a blabifier, at the end of the day, you're still a guitar player. Player. Which means every time you step foot in a music store, some asshole like me is going to take one look at you and start judging. But that's okay, because when I walked into the music store before you, a guitar-playing employee took one look at me and mumbled under his breath, "Fucking piece of shit trier." And when that employee walked in at the beginning of his shift, a guitar-playing customer saw him and said, "Well, look who it is. It's that loser denier who works here." The truth is, us guitar players are all judgy jerks. Why? Because we're all human. Well, except maybe Buckethead. That dude's got to be at least half alien. But for us 100% humans, we like to categorize, criticize, chastise, demonize, marginalize, ostracize, and organize people into otherwise bogus stereotypes. It might not be healthy or helpful, but it sure can be fun.
You're so annoying.
If you want to hear some of my original music, my new album Denialism just dropped on all streaming services and is also available as an actual physical CD. Link in the description. If you like this shirt, it's available in lots of colors and sizes at MusicBSharp.com, along with lots of other funny music-related merch. Link also in the description. And if you want access to special episodes of MusicBSharp, visit my Patreon page where you can find exclusive content, get early access to regular videos, and more. Now, go listen to my new album Denialism on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you listen to music.